Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another evening, Friday evening this night. We couldn't do one last night. I had to move over to the night. So hopefully you folks, some of you are probably out at the clubs partying, having a good old time. Some of you are probably, I don't know, is there such thing as Friday night football? But hopefully the cookouts and everything went well today and you're looking forward to the weekend. Tonight's class is it's not going to be very long. We're going to try to keep it short, to the point, and fun and active, or entertaining and educational. We're going to learn how to make a decorative project that can be really customized in a lot of different ways. I'm going to be showing you a project which is a 3D model and making a 3D model, but I'm also going to show how this could be made in Vectric VCarve Desktop or Vectric VCarve Pro as a 2D project, and using different species of wood and things like that. So hopefully there'll be something for everybody, and it'll be a project that you could add to your collection of projects that might sell very well. That being said, let's jump right into it, because it's already late in the evening at 8:30, and apologize for that. We just today was a heavy customer day, so we just getting to it. I didn't want to let you down and not have another class, so we're just running a little bit late tonight. All right. So let's go over and look at one of the projects that I have on the screen here. And take a look at it. So this is what we're talking about. Now, these crosses, you'll probably see them all over the World Wide Web. There's all kinds of different kinds that say different things. Like this one here says hope, and this one here says faith, and the one I have on the screen says love. And there's so many different things. It could be spiritual, Bible verses and things. It could be, endearing, something for the family, for grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, baby, sister, blah, blah, blah. It could be something, inspirational. It could be really just anything. It could be loving. It could be fun. It could be, whatever. But generally, it's kind of a classy little sign. And I say a sign, but, like a wall art, a piece of wall art and everything. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do. But you can see that, like online, some of these images and examples, like the example that I have here and everything, sometimes there's a common theme, using the smooth edge and the wood bark and I'm sorry with all the uhs, but there can be, I'm going to show you different backgrounds and stuff that you can use, or how to add different elements and different backgrounds and things to change it up some, so it's not so so repetitive. But I want to just kind of let you know that these are popular, and they're good little sellers online and stuff with anywhere from $34 and up, or $25, $35 and up. Great little addition to if you're selling at the markets, the farmers markets and flea markets and things like that. Give me just a second here. I'm going to turn off I think everybody knows my name here, so I'm going to turn off. Give me just a second. Just show. Well, hold on. Did I forget to learn how to set my own screens? Well, where in the world is the turn off names? Show. Okay. That's all right. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if that takes my name away. There we go. We'll do that. Okay. So my name was cutting off my face and everything because my chair keeps sinking. I haven't got my chair fixed yet. It still sinks. I raise it up, it sinks slowly. So I feel like I'm getting shorter and shorter. The project, hopefully it's a fun one for you. We're going to start from scratch. We're going to build this up, and then we're going to build it up first as a 3D model, kind of like what you see here. And then we're going to take it to a 2D kind of option, and we're going to talk about, a 2D type design and everything. And Joseph, give me a second. I'll answer your question here. And let me really quickly, give me just a quick second here. Hang tight for 2 seconds. I want to grab another photo. And I had it pulled up. Give me 2 seconds. I had it pulled up and then it disappeared. Where did you go, big boy? There you are. Okay, let me save this image and show it up on the screen. Save that. Let me see if I can pull that up. So this would be kind of a 2D version of the project, where you could do where it could be just a simple V carve. You could cut out letters and add to the top. You can V carve whatever your quotes are phrased in. It could be the same species of wood. I'll teach you we'll learn how to do it kind of a raised version as well within the Vectric V Carve Desktop or Pro. But so I mean, really, you could take it to a lot of different areas, right? So this one is, 2 species of wood that are glued together. You can also do that with the 3D model. You can glue together 2 species of wood on, face glue them together. And when you mill down to a certain depth, it mills away that one species, leaving the other species behind. You can have that contrast in color and things. But so this would be a kind of a 2D, example of that, just to kind of open up the creative, thinking process and all. And it doesn't just have to always be a 3D model. If you don't have Vectric, Aspire to be able to make the 3D models, we can absolutely do this in kind of a 2D layout as well too, and still do some really cool stuff with it. And I'm going to show you that using textures and things like that. Okay, let me just get that off the screen. I just wanted to kind of give that visual and just to, let you know. So let's see here. Let's go back here to Joseph and says, how would you get that dark and light contrast on those examples that you showed? Stain and wipe off the highlights, and more. So on the samples that I showed, coming back here, let me pull this down, these dark and light contrasts and everything. This is gonna probably be done with almost like a glazing effect, if you will. Let me see if the other one shows a little bit. That one's all dark contrast and everything. So this dark and light contrast, so glazing, basically you could use like a wipe-on stain, gel stain, and you could put that on around the edges and everything, and wipe it off, and then lightly sand the top so it creates kind of that contrast or that glazing. Let me see if I can pull up an example of a glazed 3D project. Let's see here. Stain and glazed 3D carving. Let's see if I can pull up stain and glazed raised. Bear with me just a moment. Let me see here. Trying to find a decent example. It's not the greatest example in the world, but it'll give you an idea. It's not the greatest example in the world. Let's try. Bear with me. Let me see here. We'll use this one. It's not the greatest example in the world. I wish there was better examples for this, but let's open that up. So here on the doors, these areas right here, the gel stain is used kind of like a glaze. So it's getting down into those deep crevices and all. Here's a picture of it where it's not really wiped away very well. Let me see here. Here's kind of a picture where it's not really wiped away very well, but that stain is brought into those darker areas, and then it's wiped off really heavily on the top. So only kind of those depth areas, those areas with depth and everything, keep that dark shading, if you will, glazing, and it just kind of gives that contrast. So it's a finishing technique. I'm not the best finisher in the world, but you know, that's the long and short of it, Joseph. And then also, like I said, you could face glue different species of wood together. And when you let's say that I have a 3/4 inch board that's walnut, and then I have, let's say, a 1/4 inch board that I maybe run through the planer or whatever, but I have that face glued on top. And so that top 1/4 of an inch, when I mill through most of it and everything, the top parts are going to be that light maple, and then everything below that is going to be the dark walnut or what have you, because I milled all the maple away in certain areas and stuff. And you can create contrast that way. But a lot of times it's finishing using a stain. You can, it doesn't always have to be a gel stain, but you can use a stain. There's glazes out there. I think, what is that? There's a really good, General Finishes. General Finishes. Let me see if I'm thinking right. General Finish is glaze. Yes. General Finishes has a really. Let me see if I can pull this whole page up on the screen here. They've got a really nice stain glaze effects, like a pitch black, so it creates that darker area and everything to create those kind of glazed, that contrast and stuff like that. So I'm not a good finisher. I'm not the one to take finishing lessons from, but that's how it, that's kind of what it is and stuff like that and everything. And as far as the let's see here, maple and walnut wood carving. Bear with me a second. Let me see if I can show you an example of that. Bear with me just a second. I want to. There's opportunity for good examples of this if I can just find it. All right, I do not know how big this picture will show up on the screen, but let's save it and open it and see if we can zoom in. So it's a little blurry because it's a small image and everything, but on this image, the different areas and all, you can glue different species of wood. So I'm going to assume besides the gold leaf that's in the maple right around the letters and everything here. Let's say that if I was doing this, I would have on my boards, on my blank, before any of these would be just like little shapes, that I glue in and everything. But I would use yellow wood, kind of like almost like a bloodwood, but it's yellow heart, maple, walnut, and in this, I wouldn't need the maple in the middle area because most of it's going to get mowed away. So I would literally glue these corner pieces, these kind of like almost like a triangular shape, if you will. I would glue these parts in here with kind of this open area in the middle. Again, it's crossing over right here. So, I mean, it probably comes all the way down. But I wouldn't need to fill the area because I would be filling it with pieces of, yellow heart or purple heart or what have you. Now, these could be glued in after the fact as well, too. But I'm just trying to kind of give that example. Like I could literally glue the blanks together, and then my depths of cut would literally mill the material down to those different colors, or have those different colors and all, and I could create the blank. And let's see if I can it's not the greatest example, but it gets the point across, and then we can move on. Save this, save this, save this. So here, you've got, let's say this was a maple background, and then they've glued these blanks of walnut in, so that when this carves and everything, it carves down, and so you create that, that contrast. When that's not the best example of this, there's some really good examples out there. I just can't find them really quickly on the fly. But you literally glue in one species on top of another, and the top species isn't going to be as thick or whatever, so that you can mill through it, and you can mill down to that contrasting material in the background, that kind of stuff. Okay, so yes, exactly right. Sanding sealer to seal that, so that way you can get the darker on the back and then wipe off because the top will be kind of sealed and all. All right, well, that being said, let's go ahead and get cranking on this. We're going to start off with a blank project here, and we're going to create a new file. This, I'm going to just, for right now, I'm just going to go with a 24 by 24 area with 1.5 inch thickness. It's going to be a single-sided job with 1.5 inch thickness for right now. Material surface is fine. We'll just, for kicks and giggles, we're starting the center. I'm going to leave it at very high because I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to come back over to the job setup icon right here, and I'm going to click on that. And holding that Shift key gives me 2 additional options, extremely high and maximum. I'm going to be building a model to start off with, so I generally build in an extremely high resolution environment, so that, now if I was making this model to sell on my website or what have you, then I would make it in the maximum. I want the highest resolution possible. But for class, maximum is a little bit of overkill, and it can kind of slow down when it's rendering and stuff like that. So we'll just use the extremely high for now. And if I get any, I shouldn't have. I'm paying more money a month now, but I've gotten a higher internet speeds and everything. So I'm supposed to be flying now. So we'll see. We'll see how well it does and everything. Okay, so with this, we're going to start from scratch, and I'm going to show you how I would build this cross from, shapes like rectangles and everything, building it from scratch. But I also want to show you the easy way as well, too. So the easy way is I could come up here and do a Google search. Google's your best friend, right? I could come on to Google, and I could do cross vector, and I could go into the images and find some outlines of crosses that might, give me, an appeal or a shape that I like. I could use just a blank shape, and then I could shape it even further from there. There's all kind of ways that you can create the outline for your cross. Now, one of the most common themes of these images and everything, you'll see the cross is kind of wide and it gets narrow kind of in the middle here, and it's wider out there. It's a common theme throughout and everything, even in the one project that I'm doing here and stuff, kind of common theme throughout with this. But again, it could be any shape that you want. Now, one of the main reasons that I feel that the shape is this way on the cross is because it gives you more room for your text or what have you, right? Just for your decorations and things. It just gives you a little bit more working room versus a little skinny, narrow cross and things like that, okay? So keep that in mind. You don't have to just draw it from scratch. You could, do whatever you want. Now, I'm going to draw it from scratch using shapes, and then I'm going to use node editing to adjust those shapes. And this way you can kind of get, it's a little bit of a lesson with node editing and shape drawing and all that stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I will come in here and create a rectangle. The size of it does not, once we start shaping it, it's going to adjust and all that, but I'm just going to throw a rectangle on the screen, right? The width and the height and all isn't really important to me. I'll get all the proportions and stuff in a moment. Now, I'm going to take this shape and I'll just right click and copy and right click and paste. And that's going to paste a duplicate on top here. And I'm just going to, it's already selected. When you copy and paste, it selects the newest copy. So it's selected. So I can hit the number 9 or the number 0 key on my keyboard. And if I hit it twice, it'll rotate it 90 degrees, right? Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to grab this outside center little point right here for sizing and everything. I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to pull this in. And when I hold the shift key down and pull the left side in, it does the right side as well. Keeps it, kind of in that general shape and all. So if I zoomed out so you can see here, whatever I do to the left, it'll do to the right. And so I'll pull that up there. And then now I'm going to bring this up. I'm using the up arrow key on my keyboard. And I'm bringing this up. And you can pretty much set whatever, wherever you want. Just don't be dead center. It's not like a red cross, type cross. It's a crucifix type cross without the crucified Christ on there. So it's a cross, not a crucifix, but bring it up. It's generally that, that upper third and everything. And as far as, don't have your cross out too long here. It's generally brought in somewhat shorter to give you that, that general shape. So we'll take this. Now I'm going to take this and just center it on the board just to make sure I'm centered there and everything. And now from here, I could literally come in here and weld those two shapes together to create that cross. And, let me do a favor here. I'm going to change my job setup to the bottom left corner to remove those lines there. Bottom left corner, just to kind of give a little bit of a cleaner background there. So it's, you don't see those, that 0, 0 line in the middle. So the weld tool kind of brings me here, right? Now, I can start shaping this across to, kind of give it those rounded edges and those wider ends and everything and kind of bringing things in and stuff. And I could use node editing to do that. I could use my fillet tool to round off the edges and things here and then adjust the nodes, whatever you want to do, right? So let's say, for example, that I came in here and started with the fillet tool. We'll do it a few different ways just so you can kind of get the general idea. But we'll do a normal fillet. And let's say that we're going to go with a 2-inch radius on this, and we're going to kind of create that, that shape out there and everything. And I could pretty much, all the way around, if I wanted to, I could come in and put those radiuses and kind of get that shape, general shape started. This kind of softens something, not that one. We'll do something different with that. But that kind of gets me started and everything. And then I could go into node editing, the node editing tool, and I can start to create this shape. Now, I'm a big advocate of why draw what you can copy. And I'm a big advocate of getting half of my design how I want it. And to keep it symmetrical, I'll mirror that half to the other side. I'll flip and mirror to the other side instead of trying to draw it and be consistent all the way around. I could do that. Or when I'm selecting nodes and things, I could also use the mirror horizontally and vertically, vertical tools and stuff to make changes. The only problem is my mirror line doesn't really bring me where I want to be. It brings it kind of it's at the center here, right? So if I wanted to use this to whatever I do at the top and bottom, I would have to bring my cross down. Let me escape out of that. I would have to bring my cross down to the, let me show you what I'm referring to. I'd have to bring my cross down to the center of my board here, this upper part. And when I'm in node editing and I come in here and, I'll select these nodes out here, right click and mirror vertically, it's still going to be low. Why is it lower? Bear with me a second. It is, let me go the whole. Why is my mirror line so far down? That's crazy. Let me see if that's just me. If I lower, I'm going to lower this down even more. I want to see if the mirror line moves with it. I think it moves with it. I think, let's see here. Node editing, select that. It's always going to be lower. All right, forget you. We're not going to do it that way. That's stupid anyway. Okay, so ignore everything I just said on that part. So what we're going to do is we're going to, we will use node editing and things, but we're not going to use the mirror function of it. We're just going to move the nodes. But I am going to kind of focus my attention on the halves of the board. Now, on the inside corners, I don't want them sharp. I want them rounded as well, but I did not want the 2-inch radius that I had on the outside here. So very quickly, I'm going to go into the fillet tool and I want to bring this down, and I'm going to go probably about a 3/4 radius on the inside corners here to create this little bit of roundness right there. And then I'm going to go into the node editing that we're talking about. Now here, when I am grabbing this, I'm pulling this area here, and I can use my arrow keys on my keyboard to start pulling that up. And the we'll grab these nodes here. I'm going to pull that to the left. If I do not like what's happening right here with the arc and everything, I'll show you. We'll recreate that. Also, at the same time, I want this all to be a bit higher, so I'm going to use the up arrow key to pull that up a little bit more. I'm going to focus on getting just these two sides done here, and then I'll come down and do this one, and then the bottom one. And I'm focusing just on the left side because I'll end up mirroring everything over to the right, so I don't really need to worry about all of this. And heck, if it's distracting to see that right side, I could just go right here into the middle and cut the vector, and down here in the middle and cut the vector. And I could literally just delete that side and just focus my attention on the shape here, right? Whatever works for your brain, and whatever makes things easy for you, right? And so I can, when I'm looking at this and stuff, it might be easier for me just to focus on the how I want the shape to look on just that one side. You know what I mean? And then I can start to really kind of hone in. Now I actually want this to be a little bit longer, so I'm actually going to come in here and pull this out just a little bit. Not going to go crazy with it, but I'm going to pull it out a little bit there. And I'm liking the way this is looking. I don't want to go too extreme on the bottom or the top, but I do want the top. I'm actually going to lower this. Let me get out of node editing mode. I'm going to lower this down because I want a little bit more height on the top. I'm going to use the up arrow key, pulling that up. I want a little bit more here. And again, whatever I size the cross to and everything, it just gives me that much more room to kind of work with. Because remember now, this is going to be a piece of wall art, and it could be whatever size. It could be small, it could be something you could even put a little kickstand on the back where it sits on a shelf, or it could be something that has a little hanger on the back that hangs on a wall, whatever, right? You could put a little hole at the top, and it could be something that hangs on, small enough to where it hangs on the rear view mirror of a car, right? Whatever the case may be. It could be something where you put a hole at the top and have a little suction cup, and it could be suction cup to a window, so that way when the sun comes in, it's got a nice, cool little reflection in the background, right? Anything, whatever you can make it however you want, however it wants to be displayed, and everything. Now, I'm pretty much happy with this shape. I'm going to actually size this down a little bit. Just a little, so I have room to work with on this 24 by 24 inch board. But I'm going to bring this up because I'm actually going to, and back into node editing, I'm going to use my down arrow key, and I'm going to kind of extend this down a little bit further here. And now I'm actually going to take and select these nodes here, these four, because I'm going to kind of widen this area just a little bit because it does angle in. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use my up arrow key, kind of bring that in and widen that. All right. I am good with that to start off with. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this vector. And I'm going to go into the mirror. Let's get out of node editing. And I'm going to select the mirror tool, create a mirror copy, and I'm going to flip it to the right. Okay. Now, you see how narrow it is here at the top and everything. I'm actually going to space this out by using the right arrow key. I'll recenter everything, but I want to make it a little bit wider here, right? Give myself a little, don't hit the down arrow key. Give myself a little bit of width, because when I select these two parts, I can join with a straight line once, twice to connect it together. And again, this looks a little stubby up here. So I'll go into node editing. I'm going to select all of this. And I'm just going to use the up arrow key and kind of pull that up just a little bit more. Good. Now I want to, sometimes I want to be a little bit somewhat, sometimes, not always, but, I may want to be a little bit consistent to where, it's the same width at the top and the bottom, or you could be wider at the bottom and narrow at the top. It's whatever you want, but I do want my two arms to be the same, which they are because it's mirrored together. All right, let's call that good for our main body. So let's get it centered on the board so it's not an optical just drive you crazy because you're not centered. So let's get everything centered on the board there. All right. So now we have our outline, right? This is going to be our base outline. Now, let's go over to the other cross here in the 2D view, and let's turn off the component side of things. So we're looking at the vector, and I want you to see this vector here. This, your little dividing line, however you want to break up your cross, whatever shape you want to do, right? Think about what it's going to say. Think about the theme. Maybe this is mom, and it's a Mother's Day gift or something, and, have something little special quote from mom, whatever it is, right? Think about how it's going to be, and then you can kind of divide. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't always have to look the same, but something very important to know, and the reason why I'm bringing you over to this is we are going to be creating an entirely closed vector for the right side. If I move this off, you'll see we have an entirely closed vector for the right side, okay? We have, if we click on this, we have an entirely closed vector for the left side. All right, that left side. And that's where you could get creative and you could do profile cuts on the two sides, like if this was a 2D project where you could have maple and walnut, two different contrasting species of wood, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to have those two vectors now. Keep this in mind. And then you're going to have that original dividing line, right? That original dividing line, that's going to be another vector. And then you're going to have your cross outline, right? So we've got the cross outline. We now need to kind of figure out how we're going to divide it. And then we'll end up making copies of it so we can create the right side and the left side. And it'll be rinse and repeat, okay? It'll be rinse and repeat. Yeah, it looks like a face outline. It'll be, and yeah, you could probably do something like that too, John, where it was kind of like, a nose and a lips and a mouth, and it'd be a face outline too. That'd be cool. So this is the vector layout. We got our main cross. We use that center line. However we decide, it doesn't have to be a center line, but the dividing line, and the that gets copied, and then we do some trimming so it creates the left side. We do it again, and it gets copied and do some trimming, and it creates the right side. And then all of those get stacked on top of each other, and then we start building it up from there. Okay, so that's kind of the theme that we're going with and all that stuff. That's the process. So here I've got the outline, and you could really play with this, and it could be any shape you want, but give yourself room and stuff. And if you feel like your room, let's say that these were too far out, coming down, you want to maybe shallow it up a little bit and everything, you could go into, and again, try to just focus on one side, right? Don't try to like, okay, if I move this, I got to move these other three to make them match and all that stuff. Focus on one side. Now, if I was going to, pull this or anything, I want to, kind of pull it in a direction where, I'm running kind of on a guideline and everything here. And right now, if I start pulling on this middle thing, it's going to change my arc. We don't want to do that. Okay. So if I wanted to adjust this, I could do this and use my arrow keys. I could go up, left, up, right, whatever the case may be. And I could change it to whatever, kind of whatever shape I think is good. I could do just one side, and I could go up arrow key and make that arch a little bit bigger. Maybe pull this in just a little bit more or something. And I could widen it up if I didn't want it narrow. Again, totally up to what you want, right? Now I'm going to undo that and go back to the narrow look that I had there. Let me get that back. Okay. I'm going to stick with this. This will be a good starting point and everything. Now comes the creative part. So first thing is I do like the swishes and all the little stuff. I like the swishes and everything, in there. And we're gonna figure out what kind of text, what I want to say, and stuff like that. So here's what I'm gonna do for this one. I'm gonna import an image that I have of some swishes. And on these swishes, I'm going to go into the trace bitmap tool, and I'm going to change to black and white. I'm going to bring this up. Now, these are very low resolution. They're not great resolution at all, but I don't really need them to be because I can smooth them out and everything in just the next step. But I'm going to trace these, click apply and close. I'll delete the image. I don't need it there. Now I have all these little swishes that I can play around with or work with, and I'm going to make them bigger so I can see them a little bit more. And ladies and gentlemen, if I wanted to, I could use the curve fit tool right here. And if I wanted to maybe clean up the curves or something, I could simply just go over here. It'd be a Bezier curve. I'll set my tolerance. I'll replace the other ones, and I can come in here and replace them, and it would go in and smooth them out. So let's go and let's do an undo, Control Z, and let's see if there's somewhere I can see. So, we can see that vector there. If I do Control Y or redo, you can see how, it's rounded it off some and everything and smooth it out. Now, let's go over here. Let's do a Control Z. Versus a Control Y, before and after. And they're not the greatest, switch and all. I can fix them all later. But if I want, Control Z, the before has a little bit more of a point. Control Y is a little bit more rounded. I'm going to do the Control Z. I'm going to keep it as is. But if I needed to, I could, kind of clean that up. And I could really change the tolerance too. But these are going to be good for what I want to do. I'm going to move them off to the side, and I will pick and choose those later in just a minute, the next step and stuff like that, kind of figure out what I want. For my text, I kind of want a little bit of a decorative font, okay, a little bit of a decorative font, and the something that's kind of scripty but not too crazy, right? Something that's legible, and especially if I'm V carving this or I'm trying to cut out the letters to glue it to another surface, whatever the situation may be. I will say this: monotype. If I hit the M, monotype Corsiva is a good script type font. Let me get to it here. Monotype Corsiva. Give me a minute. I'm getting down to it. It's a fun little font to where, let's say I'm going to do honor. And it could be all capital. It could be lowercase. It could be whatever you want. But honor is the word that the word of the day. That's the one I'm going to use. And so monotype Corsiva is a nice little font. From there, let's go down to the M's again. I also have, that's a little bit too much. Let's go not mark my words. Mark my words clean. There we go. I could use, kind of a font like that. And of course that would get welded together. But whatever floats your boat, just, make it something that's going to be, give it a little bit of attractiveness, right? It doesn't have to be so square, stiff, and rigid. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to make there. I could have just said that, right? Okay, so let's see here. I want a nice font. Now, let's say that I'm looking for a font and I've got thousands of fonts to choose from. And for those of you that are new and aren't familiar with all the availability to us on the World Wide Web, I'm going to go and open up a web browser. And I'm going to go to wordmark.it. Wordmark.it. Wordmark.it is a site that helps you choose your fonts for your creative projects. So I could come in here and I could type in the word honor. That's the word I'm going to use. And I could click on this arrow and it will show all of the fonts and everything that are, either installed on your system or what am I trying to say? Installed on your system or your system fonts, your custom fonts and things like that. Now, the Monotype Corsiva, it's changed a little bit. It changed hands. It is free. It doesn't cost anything. And in some cases, it requires an extension to be added, an extension to be added so that you can see your fonts. Now that extension, it used to pop up automatically here to add this extension to see your fonts and everything, but it doesn't lately. I don't know what change they had made, so I'm going to go to here, the help menu, and I'm going to see your installed fonts, and I'm going to scroll down and allow your browser to see your fonts, and I'm going to click on that and click allow from the help menu and stuff. And that's typically for Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, and things like that. Now at that point, I should be able to refresh the screen, type in honor. Let's see if it works, if I'm made a fool out of myself. And then it shows all of the fonts installed on my computer, right? Okay. So thank you, WordMarket, for not making me look like a fool and working. Sometimes things don't work. Okay. So now what this does is I can see the word honor with all the fonts that I have installed on my computer. And I could see if there's one that really kind of that I like, that sticks out to me, that looks attractive. And if I'm happy with the way that it looks, then I can go pick that font from my Vectric software, right? And so very quickly, I'm literally doing this off the top of the dome here, so I don't have a font particularly picked out. Thinking of Betty Light. I like that look right there, thinking of Betty Light, so we'll go with that one. And let's just, out of kicks and giggles, what font did I use on this other one over here on this design? What font did I use on that? Let's take a peek and see what font I used on that one. Rose of Baltimore, my font, and that was downloaded from defont.com's Rose of Baltimore. So thinking of Betty Light, I like. And let me just go down to the R's, or go up to the R's, and let me see what that Rose, that's the S's. Rose of Baltimore. That's a little much. That's this one. Let's click on the magnifying glasses. That's that one right there. That's what that Rose of Baltimore, the other one, looks like and everything. A little spread out, little much and everything. The font that I chose is Thinking of Betty Light. We're going to go with that one. And seeing it big like that, it's not that attractive, but we'll give that one a shot. And then let me see we'll play it. We'll do the Rose one, not Rose, but the Thinking of Betty Light. Let's move forward. We don't want to get hung up on this part, but take your time with it. And actually, I'm going to go with this one, Shell Normal. Okay. Take your time with it and, pick something good. But I'm going to go with Shell Normal. I liked that one out of the, last minute pick. Go to the S's. And again, these fonts are from defont.com. You can download all kinds of creative free fonts for both personal and commercial use. And I'm going to go bold on this one and click OK. But you can, for commercial or personal use, and you can have fun with it. All right, so really quickly, moving on to the font, let's go ahead and clean the font up by first thing we're going to do is we're going to weld it together. and I'm going to actually keep the original. That way, if I have to go back and change it, I can. So I'm going to click on keep. What that does is it puts the welded font on top of the original, and I'm just going to right click because it's already selected. The new font is on there, but it's selected. So I'm simply going to say move to a new layer. This is where layers comes in handy to separate things. And I'm going to put welded text. And I'll just put the word honor so I know which one it is. I could give it a color if I want to. I'll just stick with black. And that way I have that there. I'm going to come up to my layers and turn that off for a moment because here is the original. I want to move that to a layer, new layer, and this will be my original text. Honor. I'll keep that one. I can turn the visibility off on it. And then come back to my welded here. All right, now on my welded text, I want to make sure that layer is active while I'm working on it. And I want to now go in and clean up any loops or overlaps or anything that that's going to cause me issues. So this is going to cause me an issue right here, that little loop. So I'm going to take my scissors and trim that away. The R over here, I'm going to take that and trim that away, but notice it doesn't trim, right? That's because it's not actually connected to the rest of the text here. If I click on that, it's all by itself. So just select it and hit delete. I'm going to get rid of that. And then up here, this is not connected as well. It looks like it is, but it wouldn't trim either. So I want to just select it and hit delete, get rid of that. So coming in here, this one is connected. See how it selects all this? So my scissors will trim that away, right? And one more right here that is connected, right? So we take our scissors, zoom in, and trim that away. All right, that we're always looking at the corners, inside and outside corners and everything. That should clean that up, okay? Wonderful. So there is my text, and of course it can be sized however you want. And I'm just going to kind of put it right here. It's going to kind of be the main theme and stuff, okay? All right, so now we've got the text. Now, the reason why I went and jumped to the text first and everything is because it kind of gives me an idea of where I need to draw this line around, you know, and kind of figure out what my path is going to be, you know, on this dividing line or whatever you want to call it, right? That middle line and everything. You know, it depends on, let me hit G. By the way, G is the keyboard shortcut for group. Let me hit that so that way when I'm selecting this and moving it around, and again, it could be anywhere you want, but typically you generally see it kind of on the left side, you know, here and stuff. Now, with that honor, I want to take a second and I want to kind of use one of my swishes now, right? I want to be a little bit decorative and everything and use one of the little swishes. It could be, you know, any one of these and stuff. I think I'm just going to use this single one over here. I'm going to hit the number 9 key twice. And I'm just going to kind of pull that down over here. And I'm actually going to rotate, freehand rotate this, and I'm just going to rotate it ever so slightly. And then I'm going to use my up arrow key, bring it up a little bit closer. And we're going to throw that in there just like that, okay? So that's going to be the start of this, okay? Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, I could be creative and everything, and I could bring this swirl around to here so the H actually kind of comes in and wraps around and then into this. And I could have also used one of these other swirls to help with that effect as well. You know, kind of created that little wraparound swish. Let's pretend just for a second so you understand what I'm talking about. I could have come in here with this. I could imagine, if you will, that this was coming up I could rotate this a little bit. Let me size it proper. Let me move this one out of the way just for a second. Now on node editing, I'll hit node editing here. I could have done this, and I'll take these last nodes. I'm using my right arrow key, right? And I could kind of, do this. And then on my individual nodes, I could kind of start to shape that a little bit more. Bear with me just a second. I'm not on the fly. I spend a little bit of time with this and everything, smoothing it out. But up here, I could come in and extend this to where it wraps around. And I could use scissors and trim all that together. That's what I'm getting at, right? I could really spend some time and make it kind of the swirls and all that fun stuff. But I'm going to just use my original swish that I picked. I like it. Move it back over in place. I want it kind of where it's coming up right underneath that H, just about like that. And there we go. So that's what I'm going to leave there. Okay. So anyway, you could be creative, have fun with it, do whatever you want it to be. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to use my freehand tool. Now you could use any shape tools or whatever, but I'm going to use the freehand tool. This is where I start kind of being, a little bit creative as far as what I want. If we look at the other cross and everything, you can see that it's almost just a little bit off center right here. Not quite at center, just a little bit off center. And then just kind of, just started, kind of drawing it out. And then, of course, you use node editing to kind of smooth out what you want and stuff like that. So here, I know I'm going to kind of be going wide and all that stuff. So I'll leave my smoothness and stabilization. It's kind of almost at the a little over it, just a little over the halfway mark. But I'm going to start out here because I'll trim with the scissors and all that stuff. But I'm going to start up here, and I'm just going to take my mouse. Again, I'm just going to get a rough shape on the board. Now, I ended the line right there. I need to hold the control key so that it snaps to the end of that line with my continuation. Hold that control key down. And I'm going to come in out here, right? Now, in here, like, John was saying earlier, this kind of looks like a face and everything. Now, I want you to start thinking creatively, right? So imagine if I went online. Imagine if I went online and I said side face profile vector, and I get these, profiles, right, in images and everything, and I would find one that, like, it could be fitting. It could be something that, heck, it could be, I could take a picture of one of my relatives, maybe a side photo, and I could bring it into Photoshop or even, whatever. And I could trace out that and kind of create that profile. But I could absolutely use something like that. And that could be my general shape, right? That really gives, it could be a male figure shape. It could be a female figure shape. It could be a kid shape, right? So, when John saw that visually and says, hey, that kind of looks like a face outline, I mean, really, that's kind of those creative juices flowing, and you could have really any kind of shape, and you want it to be not so like defined as a face or whatever. Well, maybe a little bit, but not something like this. You don't want something like that's really harsh and all that stuff, but something that has maybe a little bit of flow and creativity to it, right? So kind of look at how natural faces and stuff flow, right? And you could really just take that and you could trace that, or you could trace an image, or you could do whatever, and you could I mean, you could really, it doesn't have to be just a single line. You know what I mean? Start thinking outside the box, because again, these crosses can be anything. They could be mother, grandmother, father, dad, Father's Day. They could be, a wedding present. They could be a birthday present. They could be a religious, with a religious saying. They could be wholesome. It typically wouldn't be a fun and stuff like that. It would be more wholesome and all, because of the cross aspect and everything of it. But you know what I mean? It could be anything, and heck, it could be any shape. It doesn't have to be a cross now. It could be any shape that's attractive to you for wall art, right? This could be, a heart that's divided into two, or a heart with a face. I mean, really just start thinking creatively, right? Use the same concept, but it doesn't have to be a cross outline. It could be any shape. It could be a diamond. It could be a heart. It could be a circle. It could be ellipse. It could be anything, right? Okay. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go into node editing here, and I've kind of got a bit of a profile started here and everything. And in node editing, I can pull lines and shapes and do whatever I want, nodes and stuff, and I can kind of adjust things and all, whatever I like, whatever appeals to me. And what I'd like to do is down here, I'm okay with down here and everything. Maybe I'm going to come a little bit more. Let's delete this point and pull this more gradually, like this. And then up here at the top, I kind of want to pull this in. I'm going to delete this point. You don't have to always have so many points and stuff. I'm going to go with this shape here. Okay. Now, this is important now. This is where we create our 3 different vectors, our left side, our right side, our main, and all that stuff. Hey, Jetty, how you doing, bud? Thanks for jumping in. And I'm gonna add some other elements and stuff up here and stuff, some other decorative elements and all. And that's another thing. On the lower, I want a decorative element. Really do want something down here, and I want something that kind of flows and everything. And I'm thinking I want this one right here. Let's get out of node editing. And so I'm actually going to pull that over. And that's going to dictate what's happening right here. I'm going to bring that down to right about here. And I'm going to stretch it. I'm not going to scale it. I'm going to kind of, let me see here. Let me see what scaling it does. If I keep the aspect ratio. I don't have to go crazy with too much. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now that's going to dictate what happens with this line here. So I'm going to go back into node editing on this line. And I'm going to let me group this G, get out of node editing, G for group on this 2 vectors here. So that way when I move this or do, whatever with it, and also I'm going to give it just a little bit of a turn there. Okay, back into node editing here. I'm going to bring this out right about there, smooth this. Give me just a moment. All right, I want help creating this shape here, right? And so what I can do is I can take this shape and I can offset it outward a large amount. So I'm going to go a 1/2 inch outward, and on that offset outside line right there, I'm going to go into the curve fit tool and clean that up. And then I'm going to go into node editing, and I'm going to bring this over and kind of connect here. And I'll use this line to come out, and then I'll take this, kind of connect it down here. And then we'll smooth this up a little bit. So delete this point. Natural curve into here. It'll come in and follow this line. So I'll use my scissors and I'll trim this outside line right here. I'll trim this here and here. So this will come in like that. Up here, this is going to come in, and I can have it flow with, get rid of this line and that line. And then from there, I just delete all the trash. Okay. All right, so that's going to be my shape here. Now, I'm going to take these two vectors right here, and I'm going to copy them to a new layer. I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to call this left side vector. I'm going to give it a color of red. I apologize if you can't see the color of red and everything, but I'm going to give that color of red. And then I'm going to take the same two vectors and I'm going to copy them again to another new layer and call it right side vectors. And come in here and turn that off. Okay, now that I have that, for the moment, I do not need my main layer on, right? I do not need the text turned on at the moment. I don't need anything turned on except for one of these two layers. So I'll do the left side layer first. On the left side layer, make sure that layer is active when you're working with it. And I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to trim the excess at the top here, and at the bottom. And that is going to be my left side vector. Okay? Excellent. All right. So now I'm going to go over here, turn on the right side. Once again, take my scissors, trim the top over here, and down at the bottom. Easy peasy. So there's the right side. Okay. So now I can turn on the right and left, and I can even turn on the original layer in the back, the text, all that stuff, whatever I want to do. Okay. So that's that. All right. All right. So now let's go ahead and take these vectors here. Let's move them to their own layer so we can turn them off the screen. New layer, we'll just call this swishes. Make that layer invisible and inactive. All right. All right, excellent. All right, let's build this up, ladies and gentlemen. The first things first, we're going to turn off the left and the right layers. We don't need them visible at the moment. We need this main outline first. That's our foundation. We always start building, if we're building a model, we build from the foundation up, okay? So for the foundation, it's going to be it could be a flat shape model. It could be a profile shape to where it's round over edges and all that stuff, whatever you want. You're going to see that I'm actually going to be doing a draft on the other layers and all. So the draft actually covers up this outside edge. So I really don't need to be too crazy with it, but I'm just going to start off with a rounded profile. I'm going to go 90 degrees here, and I want to limit this 90 degrees instead of a big old bubble dome. I want to limit it to the first 20%, and I want to have a base height. I want to have above a quarter of an inch. It could be a quarter inch, half inch, whatever you want, however thick you want your base or platform and everything. And what that's going to is give me this shape. Let me turn off the vectors for a moment so you can see. Now that 20%, basically at 20% it rounds over and flattens. I think that's a little bit too big of a round over for my liking. So I'm going to bring that 20% down to, let's look at 10%, half of it. And that's going to flatten it out even more. It's just going to give me a smaller round over, okay? Again, now the draft that I'm going to be working with, yeah, it's 70 minutes in, time for a save. Thanks, JR. The draft that I'm working with is going to cover this edge, so I could even go with a flat shape as well, too. It doesn't have to be rounded shape, but if I wasn't doing a draft or anything, then I might want to do a round over, and this is how we do a round over. A rounded shape, 90 degrees, full dome, but then we limit that, how it flattens off. And that's going to limit the size of the round over. Okay. All right. So really quickly, JRA is correct. I want to go ahead and take a second and hit save because none of this work I've done is saved. This is going to be our deco cross. And we're going to go with that. All right. So now we have a foundation, ladies and gentlemen. We have a foundation here. Okay. So with that being said, now I'm going to come in here and, by the way, that component that I just made, which we'll call it the base, B-A-S-E right here. When I made it, my right side vector layer was active. I don't want it on, that's not the right side, that's the main. So I want to move it to the layer one there. I don't want it on the right side layer. All right, so I need to make sure that when I'm working and stuff like that, always make sure the layer you're working on is active. All right, now I want to go to the left side layer here. And I want that to be active. It's at top, it's the red one. Okay. And I'm going to select that vector for that left side. And on this one now, this one is I'm adding to it. This is what gives me the buildup. So here I'm going to go into the design shape. It's going to be just a flat shape. And how high I want this buildup. Let's pop over to the other cross. And so you can see in the 3D view, what I'm referring to is this buildup right here, this part right here, this flat area that's built up sitting on top of the foundation there. So however high you want that buildup to be, kind of thing, right? So that's what we're working on right now. So here on this shape, I'm just going to give it a base height of, let's go for right now, 3/16. This is going to be my left And in that 3D view, you can see that build up there, right? Now you can go 3/16, you can go a quarter, you can go whatever you want, right? Okay, so it's just sitting right on top there. Now on this part here, I actually want to add a draft to this piece. I want to add a draft to this piece and everything. And I'm going to, in my component tray, I'm going to turn off the base so only this part is showing here. And I'm going to add what's called a draft to it. I want an angle on these edges and everything. And you could go extreme, you could go light, you could go whatever you want. I'm going to go with a 22.5-degree draft. I'm going to click apply. It's going to kind of pull that out. And the draft will only be as extreme as the degree you put here, right? Kind of thing. And so with that draft and everything, I can now turn off the left side because I have this new model draft. Turn on the base. And it's an add. Combine mode is an add, not a merge. All right. And what that's going to do, especially on the inside, it's going to give me a little bit of an angle so that when I smooth everything out, it's going to soften things up here, but it's going to, give me a little bit of an angle. Now, on that draft, if I want it to be more extreme, I could, do whatever the case may be. But the 22.5-degree is fine to start off with. Now, I am going to slightly, on this model with the draft here, I'm going to slightly enlarge it. I'm going to hold down the shift key, not the shift key, sorry. I'm going to just hold down this corner here, and I'm going to slightly, I am going to hold the shift key. That's a lie. Absolutely untrue, what I just said. I'm not going to do anything with enlarging. That is what I wanted to do is I wanted to this right here, not the side to side. Sorry. But I was at 3/16, right? So I could adjust this to whatever height that I want at this point, right? So the 3/16 I liked, but if I need to go thicker, I have total control right there. So that's what I was trying to get at. Let's put that 0.1875 back in there. Put that back. Okay. So that's that. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, on the right side, like I said, what you saw mostly on the right side was that bark, that tree bark and all that stuff. It could be anything. So actually, what I'm going to use is in my clip art, under my clip art, I'm going to go down here to these textures, non-tileable textures, and there's bark, there's fossils, there's grain, there's dirt, there's all kinds of stuff, there's all kinds of texture, brick wall, whatever you want. I'm actually going to use a brick wall instead of the wood or the wood grain and all. I'm going to use a brick wall, and I'm going to come and drag this in here. And I actually want the wall. I want this. I can have the stones going vertical. I can have them going horizontal. Whatever the shape may be, whatever you want it to be, and everything. But I don't want it to look too odd, okay? So you can see like here in the 3D view now, of course, we're only going to have the right side with this, but I want my bricks to be a little bit smaller. I don't want them to be so big, right? So big. So I want to make sure that when I scale this, that I can scale it however, whatever, look that you want, you can change it any way you want. Now, I'm also going to look at this. If I go narrow here and I turn this, I'm going to actually rotate this once, twice. And I'm going to look at it like this as well, too. And again, this is your own creativity. It doesn't have to be any, certain way or anything like that. And I'm going to actually go with that. All right. So with that component here, first thing I'm going to do in the component, I'm going to grab that wall, go into its properties, and I'm going to reduce the shape height. Now I can do that in the 3D view on the fly if I have version 12 and 12.5. I can double click on it here and I can use this and I can adjust the shape height. I could be extreme or I could be, subtle, right? And everything. And I want subtle. I don't want too extreme. I want just a texture. So I'm going to go subtle. All right. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to go into the right side vector and turn that on. I'm going to select my model and I'm going to select that vector, that right side vector. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to clear everything outside of that vector. So it's going to remove everything except for that side of that vector. So in the 3D view, now you can see we have that texture there. Okay. Now, here, because that component is an add, not a merge, it's kind of making this area right here really rough because it's adding that texture right to this lip right here, this edge. Don't want that, okay? I need these two to play nice with each other, but I need them to add to the cross. And so one of the things that I want to do is I want to create a new level. I want to put that wall texture and I want to put that draft model. I want them to be on the same level with each other. I want those two items to merge with each other. And I want the level to add to the level underneath so it sits on top. But now that cleans up my edge. Okay. These two parts are merging with each other, and now my edge is nice and clean. All right. So they're on their own level. They're playing nice with each other independently, but the level as a whole is adding to the level underneath. So it's sitting on top of that foundation exactly the way I want. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So there's our two sides of life and everything. All right. Now text and our flourishes and all that stuff. So first of all, let's look at the flourishes. These three flourishes, I'm going to actually build them together, or I could build them separate. It doesn't matter. But this vector here, we'll do this one first. It's going to be a curved profile. So a curved profile, let's go in the 3D view and look at that as we go. Let's turn the vectors on so you can see that vector there. I'm going to go with a 60-degree curve. I'm going to give it a base height of about a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so you see that there, just very subtle. And then I'm going to, it's an add combine mode. This will be my lower swish, whatever you want to call it. We're wrapping up here shortly, guys. We're an hour and 25 minutes. Stick with me. We're going to get through this. Add that, hit close. I'm going to select the other vector, do the same thing. I'll do a 60-degree, 0.0625, 0.0625. Oop. This will be my upper swish, whatever you want to call it. All right, and then on those items, I'll start with the upper swish. I want to show only this. So it's the only thing showing because I want to add a draft to this. I want to, instead of the that 16th of an inch being, you know, straight up and down, I want to add a little bit of a draft. I'm going to stick with my 22-degree draft, and that's just going to fill in that little area down there. So we'll click close on that one. We'll turn off this, and this will be my that model right there. We'll call it rename upper swish with draft. That's fine. I'm going to turn that off, turn the lower one on. Same thing. So instead of these straight edges here on the side, those edges and all, I'm going to add a draft to that. And that's just going to kind of smooth that out for me and everything. And then in here, I can turn off that and rename this to lower swish with draft. And I'm just calling it a swish. It could be whatever you want to call it, swirl, swish, whatever. Now, these two, the models that got created were created as a merge. They can't be a merge. I need them to go back to an add mode. Add mode. And we're going to go back to, we're going to turn on, that needs to go back down into the level down here. I had level 2 selected when I made those, so it threw the level up here. So those swishes need to come back down to this lower level here. All right, so let's turn that back on so you can see that swish there. Let's the upper swish there, right? So you can see those two shapes. Let's turn this here. All right, now the text. On the text, again, making sure that my level 1 is active. I can just put it on level 1 there. I'm going to do a rounded profile. I can go 60, 90, whatever the case may be. I'm going to go with full 90, but I'm going to limit this instead of being so domey like that, right? I'm going to put, I'm actually want honor to stick up a little bit more than the swishes. So I'm going to put a base height of 1/8 of an inch. And on the limit here, I want to limit that at 25%. And what that should do is it should round over those edges and then flatten off the top at that 25%. So it gives me those slightly rounded edges. It's a little rough right now. We're going to fix that with a draft. But let me see what 50% looks like. Yeah, that's too domey and everything. So 25% will be good. All right, now once again, on here, I'm going to make sure that my level 1 is active. I'm going to take this component. I'm going to show only this. I'm going to give it a draft. I'm going to stay consistent with my 22.5. You can change it to whatever angle you want. Let me show you what wider angles look like. So imagine if I went 45. All right, degree angle, it's going to really blow out, you know, right? So 45 degrees. Let me show you a 30 degree. Click apply. So 30 degree just kind of gives that nice, you know, angle there. We're actually doing 22.5. And that's going to give me that right there. Okay, so that's going to be my draft angle. And now I'll come in here again. It's a combined mode of merge. Needs to be an add, and I'll change the name to honor text with draft. All right. And we can turn off the original. We can turn on our lower swish, upper swish, our base. And then up here, we'll turn on our left and right side. And so this is where we're at right now. Okay. That's what we're looking at right now. Now, for the text, ladies and gentlemen, for the text. All right. For the text, I am going to use a Bible verse. Okay. And it could be anything, right? So just bear with me. I'm going to use a Bible verse that's based around honor, right? Honor being the word. Romans 12:10. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves, right? So that's going to be the quote. And so in the text, now I need to try to get all of that. So once again, Romans 12:10. That'll be at the bottom somewhere. We'll try to fit that in, and it'll be very smaller text. But somewhere in this right side over here, I need to get be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves. Okay, so I'm going to try to get all that into this cross. How? I don't know yet, but it could be a few simple words. It could be the whole verse. In this case, it's going to be the whole verse. It could be anything, but going to try to get it in there. Now, it's not going to be a script because it's going to be very small. It's going to be small and it's going to be laid out kind of, it's going to fit in here somewhere, right? It's so on this particular font, generally you will see this font being more blocky. Is that the right blocky? Well, more not square, but more, like a Arial type font or a Tahoma type font, that kind of thing. Because I can get that small, I can put a draft on it because this is going to be a model. It's going to be raised. I can put a draft on it, a nice little angle, and it'll fit better. It won't be so like, what in the world does that say? I can't even read that. Because it's going to be smaller. It'll be legible. That's going to be the key thing. Okay. Let's make sure. Let me look over here to the right to you guys, and I'll make sure I'm not missing any questions and everything. Don't forget to hit the like button, folks. That's true. Don't forget to hit the like button. That helps me out a lot if you like that and everything. And hey, guys and girls, don't forget there's super chats and all that stuff too. If you feel there's any value in what you're learning and all that stuff, anything helps the channel. We love it. Okay. All right, so let's open the text. Now, let's start out with the Romans 20:10 because that's going to be kind of at the bottom. I'm going to have that probably right about here on the right side and everything. And so let's start out with that. Let's get our font and everything. So we'll go Romans. I misspoke. Not 2010, 12:10. Let me fix the O. Romans 12:10. All right, now let's see if we can get that. Where's that at? All right, it's going to be a block type font. I think for this one, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to, and it could even be a monotype cursive because that actually reads clean as well too. Even in a smaller, let's see here. Let's go with, and again, you see how wide that is. I don't have that much room to work with. You know what I mean? So I probably might have to go Romans 12:10 like this. And it's going to be fitting in here. This is what I'm talking about now. Now, again, this isn't small. This is a 24-inch by 24-inch cross. Understand that. It's small in my drawing here, but in reality, really quickly, in reality, this cross is 22 inches tall, 22 and a half inches tall by almost 18 inches wide, right? So, I mean, it's decent size. But in my drawing area here, it's small. Do you know what I mean? Right? It's going to be big. I mean, of course, we can size it down, but you also got to remember you're scaling this. If this is going to be something that's hanging on a darn rearview mirror of a car, yeah, you might, I don't know, it might have a wider base so you have more room. And I could have made this vector down here sprawl out a little bit more or whatever. I could have, done a lot of things to give me some more room and all. But I think I'll be okay because I'm going to do most of the verse up here and then I'll have other words kind of just flowing down here. Let's take a look at just really quickly. You can see some of the samples. You see how they have a little bit of a wide area there. Let's look at faith. You see how they had the bird over here on the right, which is a really nice touch for hope. And then they had the text kind of fitting in here. And you see how this was really narrow over here to give them a lot more room for text on the right-hand side. We could do that too, right? We could get rid of that lower swish. We could work it out, whatever the case may be, whatever your design. Now, I've committed to, in my heart, I've committed to this design right here. I could, if I wanted to, I could, reshape this, make this smaller, maybe over here, and open this up wider, to give me some room. I'm kind of committed to this shape, so I'm going to just work with it. You just got to do whatever fits for you, okay? This is going to end up, don't do that. Control Z to undo. This is, by the way, I want to move this to, make sure the layer that you're working on, I want to move that back to layer 1, and I want to make layer 1 active. But make it fit whatever looks good for you. Now, I think I am going to actually go with the monotype cursive in here because it is a clear, straight font, but it has a little bit of style to it. I really like it, and also I'm going to stick with that, and everything. And so now the all right, so be devoted to 1. I'm going to hit enter to put another on the next line. Oops, not backslash. Come on back over here now. I will end up breaking these lines into individual lines so I can move them around however I see fit. Okay. I don't know what in the world I just did here. Hold on a second. Undo. 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 Enter. Delete. Left side justify. We'll get there. Okay. Now, It doesn't matter that my A is over this layer right here because I'm going to break these up into individual lines and I'll move them left, right, up, down, whatever to fits my needs. I'm just getting the individual lines broken up. And then from there, I will, get everything to fit where I want it. Okay, so now I have the lines somewhat broken up how I want. Now I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to text, break the block into lines. Now, when I do that, now each of these are their own line. So I can scale them, size them, shape them, move them, whatever I want to do. So be devoted to one another. I'm going to move this up and just right there. Honor, I'll move over here. One, heck, I might be able to get all of it in. Heck, hold on, I might be able to get, might not need to go down the sides here. Okay, so these two, I want them to line up with each other and not be too far off or anything like that. You know, I could be a creative, whatever, but I'm going to select actually both of these. So this one first, this one second, because that's where I want that one. And I'm going to use the alignment tool and I'm going to align to the bottom, get the bottoms lined up with each other. Okay. And then here, I might be able to do something like that and it'd be right there and everything. And that might not be too shabby. Let me see if I take this, let's do one at a time. Let me see what a bold looks like. Bold, unbold, bold, unbold. Going to go bold. It's going to give me a little bit more. I can a little bit more. I'll be able to see a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. I'm going to stick with that right there. And so that gives me this whole side to be open and everything. I'm actually good with that. I don't really need to go down the side. You know, I could. I don't need to. I don't. There's no sense in adding like extra swirls. None of that stuff. You know, you don't have to try to fill in every little part. I'm happy with that. I'm good with that. So we're going to select these. Now I'm actually going to build all of these as one. I'm going to build all of these as one item. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and select all that. I'm going to go into the modeling tools and all, and on this one, I'm not going to do the rounded over edges because I am going to put a draft on it. So I'm just going to do a flat shape. Now, this is important, ladies and gentlemen. This is important. This shape is going to try to take on the brick that's underneath it. So when it builds up, the texture is of the text is going to have the texture of the brick because it's adding to it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually be merging the two together, and we're going to be putting a big base on the bottom of this text to lift it up above the brick. So when we create this shape and everything, remember that base that I created was 1/4 of an inch, right? Remember that base was 1/4 of an inch. And let's say that on the base here that I want it 1/4 of an inch is my base. Then I have the brick on top of that. And then I need to be above that, right? So let's say that I make this, let's go 3/8 for right now on that base height. And this is going to be my Romans 12:10. I'm going to click apply. Now, if we look at this, okay, the on the add and everything, it's going to try to take on, you see how rough it is. It's trying to take on the shape that's underneath it and all. We want it to be a merge. Okay, so it merges in, and I'm going to click apply for right now because I have 12.5, so I can work in the 3D view and I can raise this up to get it just how I want it. But I want to make sure that I'm also in the right level. So I am in the right level here, but at the same time, you know, I'm above this level too, right? So you see the difference and everything and all. So what I'm actually going to do with this is I'm actually going to put this one on its own level. Okay. I'm going to have this merging the level now. The level is going to be merging with the models underneath it. This can stay a merge or it can be an add. It doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't matter at this point. But notice it's not tall enough, right? It's not tall enough. It's the 1/4 plus the brick plus whatever is the 3/8 that I made, it was not tall enough. So down here, bear with me. Down here at the bottom, I'm in the 3D view. I can adjust that on the fly, right? I can build that up on the fly here, okay? And so I'm going to come up just slightly above this, okay? I don't want to be too tall above. Now, remember, I'm going to be adding a draft. Right now, it looks really jagged and ragged and all that stuff. Looks very rough and everything. We're going to smooth that out with the draft. But I don't want to be too tall, right? I don't want to be too bulky and too fragile, you know, and stuff like that. So, but I do also at the same time, I do want to make sure that I'm not too thin to where, you know, some of the words are getting buried by the brick and all that in the background. You know what I mean? So sorry, my nose is itching. You want to make sure that you have enough height that you're you got good detail. So 0.5707 brings me right above. I got a little bit of height there. I'm actually going to just go 0.6, just round it up to 0.6 there, and hit enter to lock that in. And we're going to call that good. All right. And now I want to show only this. And I'm going to add a draft. Now, when I add the draft to this, it's going to look really crazy because the draft is going to blend in because of this tall base, right? You know, and everything. So it's going to look really weird, but you're not going to see any of that draft. That draft is going to be buried inside the model, inside the cross, right? Now, I'm going to stick with the 22.5 degree draft. and it looks really odd and all kind of crazy and everything. But you're not going to see any of that. So when I come back over here to the components, I want to, once again, we're going to make this an add. We're going to turn off the original there, and we're going to rename it. We'll just call this Romans 12:10 with draft. And again, your saying could be anything, you know, whatever fits the occasion, you know, world's greatest mom, you know, and I always love, now listen, online, Google, quotes about honor, quotes about freedom, quotes about mom, quotes about dad. You know, I can search those little terms and find all these nice little quote pages. Give credit where credit's due. You know, if it's an you know, if there's an author to the quote, put the author's name in there and all that stuff. You know, and everything like that. Give, you know, make it part of the design and all that stuff. But you can find all kinds of nice little sayings. That's another term you can use when you're searching sayings about honor, sayings about freedom, sayings about this and that, and blah blah blah. All right, so now it looks odd and weird, right? It looks odd and weird until we start adding in the other components. And that all that cone shape that you saw is buried inside that component and everything. And so there is your model. Okay. Nice, good looking, and all of that jazz. Now, hang tight with me, stick with me for those of you that are sticking around. We're going to take this and let's come over here. We're going to create a copy, like a copy of this entire thing, so it'll make it one full copy of the visible model. We will put that in its own level, and we will turn off all the levels underneath it. So we just have that model. Okay. Now I'm going to take a second here. I don't know if my resolution will change and all, but let's try, because what I'm going to do here, I'm going to hold the shift key down and I'm going to come in here and make this an extreme maximum. It's going to update the model and give it a little bit more clarity and stuff. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go into model and export as STL. Build that model up. Stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. Now, again, really quickly, if this was desktop and pro, we couldn't build the models and all, but we could absolutely lay everything out the same way, same vectors, everything. And we could do, you know, V-carve. That text could have been V-carved in. We can do, you know, we can cut out like the big letters and little swishes. They could be glued on. We can create the two halves in two separate woods where it's two profile tool paths, you know, and all that stuff. And also you can make this, you know, to design. And it doesn't have to be a cross shape either, ladies and gentlemen. Again, like I said, it could be a heart, it could be a circle, it could be an ellipse, it could be anything. Well, it could be a star. All right, so with this model, let me just really quickly, I do not like, you see how bad the letters turned out? That is, I was just about to share this model with you to download, but I want to fix that. That right there is because I built the model in a lower resolution and tried to increase the resolution. And that is a terrible that is a terrible outcome. The swishes and all the right side and everything looks good here, but everything else looks good. But that text is horrendous. So give me just a second. Let me look at something here. Let me see if that is terrible. Okay, give me just a second. You can see it. You can even see it right there, you know. And what that is that's actually the draft. Let me go back into the components here, this copy. I'm going to turn this copy off. I'm going to turn on the originals. And I want to go, and you can see that in the the sides of the text right there. So now that being said, now that seeing that and everything, this is where, just real quick, if that ever happens to you and everything, you wouldn't want to carve that like that, because your letters would literally come out like that. That's how it would come out. So we're going to change this a bit. Instead of putting the draft in there, I'm going to come in and turn off that text. I'm going to make sure that level 3 is active. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to build this text again. Let me look at my font, make sure my font's smooth. Yeah, my font's fine. So I'm going to rebuild that text, but this time, because I want that draft angle, if you will, I'm going to actually build it as a conical shape here. I'm going to go with that 22.5-degree profile. I'm going to limit it to 20%. I'm going to put a base. Let me see what that looks like so far. I'm going to put a base of 0.6. And it's still a little rough around the edges and everything. Let me see here. That's not the way I want to do that. Give me just a second. We're about to wrap up, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be the last step. We're going to try to fix this text, give it a little bit of a cleaner edge. I got the blue circle of death there. Da-da-da. All right, let that build up, and for a second, and it's going to. I checked off the box that said preserve internal corners, which probably was not necessary, and what caused me to lock up right there. Give that just a second to process, and we'll go from there. I should be okay. I shouldn't be frozen. You should be able to see me and all that good stuff, but. Let me hear your thoughts in the chat and everything really quickly. We're about to say goodbye, but what do you think of the design so far? and everything. And I'm going to make this model available to you to download. That's what I wanted to do before we discovered that that text was a little chalky and everything. And luckily, we're saved. The file saved on that last reiteration and everything. Thanks, Kurt. I appreciate that. But luckily, we saved that last reiteration. So if I do crash, I can simply restart it, and we're good to go, kind of thing. As a matter of fact, I might forcefully crash this. Let's see here. Okay, so we didn't, we didn't lose any steps or anything there. This is the bad text right here. Let's turn off the vectors. You can see how choppy and chunky and all that stuff is. Let's look at our job setup. I'm at the highest resolution here. So really quickly, very, very quickly, I'm going to, once again, I'm going to go into the components. I'm going to turn off the copy of that model. I'm going to turn on everything else. And it could also come down to my font choice as well, ladies and gentlemen. It could be the font that does that. I don't think so, but it could very well be. I don't believe so, but it could very well be. But what I'm going to do really quickly is we're going to go back in here, select this. The angular profile didn't give me the result that I wanted, so I am going to go back to a flat here. All right, instead of the flat, I'm going to use the rounded profile option, and that might settle up those edges a little bit. So I'm going to use this rounded profile. Let's go with a full 90, limiting it to 20%. With a base height of 0.6. Now it's going to be a little rough because it's going to take on the brick underneath it. For some reason it does not like the all right, when it won't create the text and all, bear with me just a minute. I'm actually, now that I have the layout here the way that I want, right, the layout how I want, I'm actually going to convert this to a curve. I'm going to convert it to a curved vector. And on that curved vector, I'm going to do a vector validation and make sure that there's no issues that I'm not aware of. There's one intersection, which is right here. I'm going to take my scissors and trim that away. I'm going to go into node editing and delete that point. One last time. Vector validator. All right, so I have no issues there. I'm going to go into that rounded profile. Let's see if it lets me, if it plays nice with me. 90 degrees. There we go. I want to limit it to 10%. I'll do 10. And a base height of 0.6. We know I'm using that 0.6 because I know that's what brings me above the text. Still a little bit jagged, but that's okay. I'm okay with that for right now. So now I'm going to close this. I'm going to go into the components. I'm going to show only this. I'm going to add the draft. You know what? The draft is probably going to be what kind of roughens up my edges, so I'll use a. It's actually not bad at this point. It's not bad. That's clean. It may not look like it to you, but it actually is. That's actually fairly clean. There's not a lot of jaggedness there, so that's good. That's a good thing. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take it one slight step further. Turn off the original. I'm going to take it one slight step further while that's still the only visible thing, and I'm going to add a little bit of smoothing. And I don't want to go too crazy with it. I don't want to lose my letter, all that stuff and everything, but I want to see if I can bring this up a little bit. You see how it cleaned up that a little bit right there? I think everything still looks good. Yep, okay. I'm going to keep that just like that. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to turn on the wall, the base. Yes. All right, so now you can see it's much cleaner and everything there. It's not jagged and all. So now I'm going to hit save. So the rounded profile helped out quite a bit, adding a little bit of smoothing. I mean, that helped out as well. So now I'm going to hit save. Let's do file save. I'm going to go up to let that save. I'm going to go to model, export STL, triangulate that, building that STL model. Stick with me, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with me. I could have probably ran the smoothing on the whole thing. Like I could have done a little bit of a smoothing function on it all to kind of smooth it all out, but I think I'm going to go. And it still looks like it's jagged, but I think it's actually going to be okay. It's not as bad as it was. I think it'll be okay. You will be able to tell me when you carve this, if you ever carve it, but I'm going to make the model available right now. So I'm going to hit save triangulation. I'm going to call this Honor Deco Cross. I'm going to open up give me a second because I'm going to make the link available to you right now. I'm going to open up my Spindle TV files. I'm going to go into the File Explorer. Make sure that's the STL file. I'm going to drag and drop that into the folder. Give that just a second. I'm going to open up the Create Shared Link window. Google Drive link generator. Almost there, ladies and gentlemen. It's creating the link. All right, so as a whole, while that's working on that, we'll close this out. Here is your sign. Okay, that's the model that I'm making available to you, but that is what we did. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 separate vectors. If I turn off everything here, we have the right side vector that we created. We have the left side vector that we created. And then, of course, we have the overall vector. And we had the little swishes that we made, the little swishes and swirls that we used and traced. We have our text that we used, and then that main outline and stuff. And it's literally rinse and repeat on anything like that. And again, that principle, what you just learned and what you could watch this video over again, the principle of everything we did could be applied to any shape background. It does not have to be a cross. It could be any, whatever shape floats your boat, right? Valentine's could be hearts. You know, Halloween, it could be a pumpkin, whatever, right? It could be, you know, whatever you think. It could be a Christmas tree, you know, for the holidays. And it, you know, it could be something like joy, you know, could be the word. It could be a Christmas tree with that kind of same scenario. And it could be joy, you know, would be the word with a little saying about joy or something like that. You know what I mean? So all that fun stuff. All right, so give me a second. The link is almost generated. And we're going to go down to the H's. Share. Anybody with the link can download. Anyone with the link, copy the link, come over here, paste it, generate, copy. All right, in our chat, in the chat windows, ladies and gentlemen, the link that is in the chat right now, you can download that. The STL model link right here, Ronnie, this STL model link, you can download that model and you can import it into Desktop Pro or Aspire. That link right there, that is that model file. That's that STL. Okay. Hey, thanks, Ian. I appreciate that. Let me go back over here and turn this back on in the 3D view. There we go. So that is the model file that I just shared that link. You can download that STL and give it a try. I believe it's going to come out just like this. I think the letters are going to come out okay. I don't think they're going to be jagged and everything. They were really bad on that first go around, but I think they're going to be okay in that second one. I think Vectric, when you import it in, Desktop Pro or Aspire, it'll render it nicely. Now, what I would think, thinking veterans, right? Absolutely, Brooks Martin, for sure, and everything. It could be, all right, again, not throwing out all the negative stuff, but it could be one of those ribbons, you know, for cancer awareness type of thing. It could be that ribbon shape. It could be a diamond. It could be a heart. It could be a cross. It could be, hell, anything, right? In any shape, this principle still applies. Everything that we did, the 3 sides, the 2 sides, the vector, you know, that kind of split, we trimmed and made those 2 vectors. That way we could, you know, build the shapes up, you know, and stuff like that. The whole principle applies to any shape. But that model, you guys and girls can download that. If you click on it, you'll download that model file. And when you're bringing it in, set the job up, ladies and gentlemen, in your job setup. Hold down your shift key and come into that job setup. That way you have those extra options. and use that extremely high for yourself to give yourself a really nice resolution when you're bringing the model in, so that you get the best results when you're carving it and that kind of thing. All right, everybody. That 2 hours and 15 minutes. I hope it was time well spent for you all. I hope you feel that it was time well spent for you, and I appreciate you coming out on your Friday night to hang out with me. Normally, if you're new, normally it's Thursday nights 8 o'clock, but last night there was no way that I could make it in time, so we had to push it back to tonight. But use your imagination, have some experience. Remember what I said about that side face profile, using that vector, like if it was something for, a sweet 16, right? Like a sweet 16 present for a birthday present or something like that, or a baby, for a newborn birth or something. You know what I mean? It could literally fit any occasion. This project is so expandable. Okay. I've harped on that enough. I think you get it. All right, everybody. Well, if you felt this was, beneficial to you, give me a thumbs up. And from that, I will say good night to you all. You have a wonderful evening. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll hopefully see you next week. Yes, we will. All right. Oh, hey, if any of you are on Facebook, I'm gonna do a little quick plug real quick before I say goodbye. I have a new page that I've set up that I haven't shared out yet or anything like that, but it's a new page on Facebook called Laney's Workshop Picks, Amazon Deals. And what I'm going to do, it's not completely built up right now, but over the years of teaching Vetric and working with the CNC and just woodworking and teaching woodworking in general, I have worked with a number of tools that I, just like and recommend and everything. And there's right now, I haven't started filling. I've only got like 4 items on here, but these items, I'm sharing these Amazon links, and they are affiliate links. I get a small little commission if you ended up buying something like that. But I'm going to be building this page up with some of the tools that I would highly recommend that I've used in the past. That only the tools that I've used and that I like. Bear with me just a second. I'm showing. You're just seeing my face, but you're not seeing the page. There we go. Let me maximize that. Give me just a second. That was funny. I'm looking at the other screen, but it's called Laney's Workshop Picks, right? Amazon Deals. And but over the last 15 20 years, all the tools that I work with and stuff, it's tools that I recommend. Now I only have 4 tools on here right now, so most of these are tools for like setting up and calibrating your CNC machine and stuff. But like a set of 1, 2, 3 blocks, or the Mini Tram Pro for tramming your CNC, set of calipers that the high quality calipers, and a multimeter and stuff. I'm going to be adding router bits that I recommend, that I've used, that I really like. I'm going to be adding links for my table saw, sanders, whatever, tools that I've used in the past, even down little measuring tools, little squares and things like that. But these little links, they're Amazon links, and they are affiliate links. So if someone actually clicked on the link and they purchased the item, I'd get a small commission type of thing. But that's on Facebook under Laney's Workshop Picks. Laney's apostrophe Laney apostrophe S Workshop Picks, Amazon Deals. I'd love you to follow along, or you can click the follow button and follow the page and stuff. I will be building up that page, and again, all the links on here are going to be affiliate links. And I would get possibly if it's a commission, I might get a small commission on that purchase. And it's just something that helps out the channel, rather than asking for like Patreon or this and that. This little thing is, and it's going to be tools that I'm not going to just throw willy-nilly anything on the screen or in that channel on Facebook. It's tools that I've used, tested, and absolutely stand behind that are phenomenal and things. They're just true, tried and tested. And so I'll be building this up. I just set this up the other day, but there's a little bit about it. Basically, just
it's tools that might be handy. But yeah, if you follow the page and as you see something, I share something you might like. If you happen to buy it, it helps out the channel, and I appreciate all that great stuff. So there's my little plug and everything. Laney's Workshop Picks, Amazon deals. And if you follow along with that, I'll start adding stuff to it and everything. Right now I have 0 followers on that page because I just started it. But hey, I'd love you to join along. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and we will see you. We'll see you next week. All right, everybody. See you later.